adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never there. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 199. As always, I'm in the new booth with my brothers, Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela, Michael, the bicycle, Press, and I am Dave, the body, Regina. Mike Press is a multifaceted, creative, and entrepreneur based in New Rochelle, New York. He is known for crafting immersive DJ experiences, blending Afro-Latin, Afro house, and classic house sounds inspired by disco and 80s and 90s music. He also hosts the TikTok channel Rock With Us, exploring nostalgic moments from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Beyond his work in music and storytelling, he specializes in social media strategy, helping micro accounts with under 15,000 followers grow through engaging content and innovative brand storytelling. His work spans luxury and lifestyle brands, driven by a passion for creativity, growth, and authentic connection. Mike, welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Yo, man, I truly appreciate you for having me because it's been a long time. And I've been wanting to be on this for a minute, so thank you.
Listen, I'm happy to be reconnected with you. Before I speak with you for an hour plus, I do have to mention my brother behind the camera, The Voice, and Kai Visions. We are in a brand new studio. As I'm sure if you're on YouTube, everybody can see. We were out for about 8 weeks is something that we typically do, but then we had a little storm back here, CV. Is that accurate? So, we had to redo a couple things, but my brother is up and running. Kai Visions for all your content, creative needs. Home of the No Snooze Podcast, and it's a beautiful booth, my brother. I'm happy to be back. So just wanted to shout you out. So Mike,
wait. Am I the first one in the new one?
You are.
Better tell him 199. Better tell him.
What's funny is, I always like to give a backstory as to how we met. So, I said Michael the bicycle because this was probably 2017-ish, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I go to one of Mike's classes. Mike's a fitness instructor. And, I was really excited because at this time I was like getting pretty good at cycling and spin. Mm-hmm. And you had me just on a whole nother level. But I remember tracking it on the app and I was so ecstatic because I got a 98.
Oh, and the beat match.
Yes, on the beat match, right? Mm-hmm. And Mike's ride and his style is unmatched. Mm-hmm. So that's how we originally connected, but then lost touch. Yeah. Followed each other on social media for a long time, but then we just recently, probably what?
May?
Yeah, I guess
April, May. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So a couple months back, we both did Michelle Barone's podcast on the same day.
Same day.
And that is how we reestablished connection. Mm-hmm. We both were very intrigued by each other's story, and we knew that we were going to get some stuff started.
Yeah.
But what was it for you? Because I remember you specifically saying to be like, "Yo, man, we've got to connect." Mm-hmm. So take me back to that moment because I don't think we really ever discussed that part.
No. So that day specifically, I had just left my business for like a year and a half and was in like this weird like limbo, right? And you had popped up again on my Instagram, like just posting maybe like a reel or something like that. And I was like, dang, I ain't seen Dave in mad long. Not knowing I was going to see you the next day.
Right.
And then when I saw you, it was like, I have to be around this in some form or fashion. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I need to be around this. And I think at that time I had saw one of the ACE workouts that you were doing. And I think that's what kind of like pulled me in. And at that moment I was like, I got to figure out what Dave has been doing and figure out how to get back into that circle. So that's where I was at that time.
Yeah. I talk to a lot of guys and you know, a lot of us were athletes and, you know, in organizations growing up. But then like after high school, after college, we kind of lose that sense of brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think the ACE platform itself, Action Cultivates Excellence, is a very enticing thing for men that just want to be around camaraderie and a brotherhood. So now that you have been involved, right, on multiple levels, you've DJ'd workouts for us. You're in the network itself. You put a lot of work in. You're a leader in your own life. What would you say was the first impression of ACE versus now the reality of what you know ACE to be?
The first impression when I started kind of watching the things in ACE, it was just like a bunch of like hitters, like a bunch of like swole dudes coming in and killing these workouts, right? And not that intimidated me at all, but I could also see how it could be perceived to maybe someone that's not in that type of energy. Then once I actually got into it and I DJ'd the first thing, I was like, oh, these dudes is like mad nice. Like everybody's like super chill, and then there was women involved in it and people brought their kids. And I was like, wait, this is totally different than what I saw maybe for that one workout. And I said, okay, I like this. I feel like this is a place where I could bring my girl. This is a place where I can bring my family, my people, and everybody could be involved and not feel like ostracized out. So those were the two biggest differences.
Very cool. So I want to start on DJing and I guess just music in general. Your DJ sets, they're known for blending Afro, Latin, house, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know I misspeak a lot, but I could do that. It's my podcast. Classic house. Can you walk us through, I guess, the creative process of designing a set and how you decide on like the mix of genres for each performance? And before you answer that, CV, I don't know if you're aware of this, he's actually been working with Shortcuts as well. Right, so they reconnected. Shortcuts is actually CV's old college like best friend.
Yes,
so they go back.
That's what Shortcuts went to college with everybody, and I always message him. I'm like, "Who's not your boy?"
Right.
I'm like, "Who's not your boy?"
Yeah.
So creating a set is different for me, I think, than some DJs because I dabble in a lot of different facets. So I do a lot of house parties for like Westchester people, right? I do a lot of DJ workouts. I mean, I do a lot of like workouts for like people on a DJ. Then I do the clubs, and then I do corporate. So different things require different sets, right? But what I'll talk about is the sets that I prefer, which is like the house sets, right? So how I kind of start is I think about the journey that I want to take the person on. I kind of start very dark, very like real jungle-y, right? Where the beats are just really like it gets like that because it pulls you in a certain way. From there, I start to then lighten up where it turns into more of, let's just use like Gypsy Woman or something like that, like CeCe Peniston, something like that. Like the vibe gets a little bit lighter. And then I drag you into something that now is more jazzy. Right, where people it's been enough time that people are like loose, and then now people just want to vibe out and dance. The thing about music is music will always take you on a journey, whether you're listening to beats or whether you're listening to lyrics. Because even when you listen to lyrics, it's telling what? A story. When you're listening to the beats is driving your energy to go somewhere. Whether it's a lo-fi energy where it's trying to just keep you not too crazy, or you go high EDM where you and you raging. So I try to always make it so that when we get to a certain point, I got you up here, and then I can bring you back down, let you chill out a little bit.
Excuse me. I'm a little mind blown because I didn't realize this whole time that music was the journey that I was on. I thought it was the alcohol taking me on the journey in the club. It's been the music the whole time?
It's been music the whole time.
Wow. And by the way, I'm not really counting, but I think I'm sober. Let's actually see here. Where's my app?
You should be
380. No. Let's not get crazy here. So I use this quit drinking app, and I have been sober 324 days.
I wasn't that far.
10 hours, 52 minutes, and 35 seconds. Who's counting?
You.
But yeah, no. It's very interesting talking to DJs and just creatives in general because you take somebody like me who just likes to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
I am infatuated by the thought process behind all of that stuff.
Mhm.
I got a tough question for you. The evolution, I guess, of the DJ scene, right? Where do you see this going now with like AI? Because the reality is, you know, you can kind of be in a club and just hit play and like AI can create a playlist for you. Is that something you're fearful of, or do you utilize AI to your advantage as a DJ and for the future of music?
I don't use AI at all for DJing.
Oh no?
Mm-mm. I haven't been exposed to a software yet that allows me to do something like that, or to kind of tell me like the perfect set to create. Because when you're in front of people, you're gonna know you can hit bangers all day long, but if that crowd is not responding to those bangers, how do you transition and out of that into something that they want? Take a wedding, for instance. If I'm at a wedding and the demographic is, let's just say 45 to 75, I'm really not throwing out Windows to the wall. It's just really not something I'm going to do. I might do some like Chubby Checker. We going to twist and shout. Like we going to do something like that. So if the algorithm is just throwing you bangers like Windows to the Wall and Shake It Fast by Mystical and Drake, you know, all this kind of stuff, that's not reading the room. The algorithm can't read the room that you're actually in. It gives you a baseline of what's normally a banger, opposed to reading the room and being like, this is a Fleetwood Mac crowd. This is a Bruce Springsteen crowd. This is a Cyndi Lauper crowd. So you saw my knowledge. You saw my knowledge. But you got to be able to read the room, and an algorithm can't read a room in real time.
I like that. And I would definitely agree with it myself. Is there a cultural thing for you, you know, by playing Afro Latin, Afro house? It sounds like that music is deep cultural roots there, right? You know, how do you, I guess, ensure, how do I word this properly, that you're not only paying tribute, I guess, to the historical roots of it, but also like honoring its impact on the current crowd that you're in, right? Because like you were just saying, the audience is everything, right? And you really create a communal effect. So how do you navigate that when you're in, you know, creating a set?
I got to know the room that I'm going to. If I know the room that I'm going to is predominantly white, I know how to throw certain Afro house tracks in that are already remixed for maybe that crowd. I have a Afro house remix of Mr. Burnside. Goes hard. But guess what? They're only caring about the lyrics. Going out of my head, I'm doing. That's all they care about. But every beat behind it, it just sounds good. But once it gets to that part where they know and they can yell and scream, that's what they live for. The cultural thing is because I grew up around predominantly Spanish and Black people. So me listening to Tito Puente or Hector Lavoe and things like that inspires me, Stevie Wonder, and you blend all of these places together and you can really create a sound that's not too normal. So when I hear steel drums, when I hear snare drums, when I hear that type of stuff, like really like gives me the energy, and it also just drives energy for people anyway. Gotcha.
I'm going to shift away from music. Is there anything you want to share on that? So it's very funny. I was actually, where was I traveling to? I was traveling to Curacao back in March. And this is before you and I connected.
Okay.
And on my JetBlue screen pops up Michael Press. And I say to Katie, I'm like, babe, this is one of my boys. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, he's just on a podcast on the airplane? I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I got to check this out. So I did see underneath it, it was like a VaynerMedia production, Gary V, right?
Yeah.
What was that? What was it? What did I see? And why were you on my screen? And what's so funny, CV, shoot over to him so he can answer that. But I'm going to find you a screenshot of that picture. I swear to God.
So end of 2023, I had the great opportunity to lead a podcast under Gary V's former company, 137 PM. And it was a podcast called Bold Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And what we did was we It was a pilot show that we were working, but what we did was we wanted to take the idea of Hot Ones
Mm-hmm.
and infuse it into nostalgic Saturday morning, what you did like at home as a kid.
Okay.
You would eat cereal and you would watch your cartoons, or you would, play a video game. So we wanted to figure out, how do we talk to entrepreneurs about their journey over a bowl of cereal? And it was a fun podcast. I was able to meet a lot of people that I watched growing up on TV, which was kind of crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and also meeting people that I had no clue of who they were, but have now kept up those relationships over the time since the show ended. The way it got to there, it was like a licensing deal that they had, but they had it with JetBlue and they also had it with AMC movie theaters. Yeah, that was me.
CV.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, but it was the way that I even got that was wild. I got introduced to Vayner's coordinator, this girl named Ashley Shim, and I kept trying to get in contact with her, and I was in Hudson Yards, and she had we had come in contact that way, and I was like, hey, I need 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. She said, hey, I don't have 10 right now, but I'll come back and, we can work it out. I said, cool, I need 9 minutes. And from that point, I literally just pitched her. I said, look, I'm looking for a show, looking to build a show or be a host of a show. Like, I'm just looking to do that. I have the charisma. I have the chops. I have the idea. Or if you have an idea and you need a host for it, like, I'm all in. And she just stared at me like this. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I messed this up. I came in way too hot. Like, I had no clue. A week later, she called me for a green screen, a test to go upstairs and do it. And I was like, all right, cool. And at the time, I did the test with the CEO of 1:37 p.m. And I was like, so he's going to be the host and he's interviewing me? I was like, all right, we're gonna flip this. I'm going to interview you in the middle of an interview. And they started catching on to that.
Yep.
And, 2 weeks later, they brought me in and we started creating the show.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool, man. And you also have this confidence about you that I've always noticed. Where do you think that confidence comes from to be able to pitch somebody like that? Because a lot of people, they have phenomenal ideas in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think there's really anything that you, that myself, that CV can really think of that somebody in this world hasn't already thought of. What do you think the difference is of somebody who has the confidence to actually pull the trigger on a conversation like that?
I know where I got it from. I'll go back to that. My dad was a reverend in Mount Vernon all his life.
Shout out. Money earning. Mount Vernon. All right? You're looking at two great products of Mount Vernon, New York.
Mm-hmm. And Reverend Michael Press, we went to Macedonia Baptist Church for the longest time. And as a kid, I was the preacher's kid. So what does the preacher kid always have to do? He's always got to be on point. He always got to be able to stand up and talk whenever he needs to. So it's like growing up in that and then traveling to different churches, having to always be a representation of your father. You have to already have the confidence. You can't be just there like, oh. Like that's where I got it from. You have to have taken chances before and failed at it. Because if you throw the chance out there, you throw the conversation out and you get rejected, or they tell you, now's not a good time, you got to be able to eat that and get back up and do it again. So when I modeled and acted in the city, you're constantly getting rejected all the time. All I'm doing is pitching you an idea that may or may not happen. This is light work. You're not telling me I'm not good looking enough. You're not telling me that I can't act. You're just saying maybe we don't have anything right now, or we might not have the budget right now. Cool. Let me follow up with you in like 6 months. You just have to be able to take the L's when they happen. And the more L's you take, the more confidence you get to just pitch anybody, no matter who they are.
I like that.
Because at the end of the day, somebody can look at you and be like, oh, how do I get on, the No Snooze podcast? Well, there's going to be research done on you first. Does that research even make sense for you to even be on the show? Right? But you got to be able to take the L if Dave says, not right now. Not right now, my brother.
You mentioned a word in the, I think we were talking about, I read it on the bio as well, nostalgia, right? Now, that I think is a unique tool for connection.
Mhm.
And nostalgia plays a major role in your work, I
Mhm.
think, not only in music, because you're
Yeah.
creating that story, but also like in your TikTok show,
Mhm.
Rock With Us, right?
Mhm.
Why do you think it's such a powerful tool to connect with people? And how can we use it
Mhm.
to build a deeper sense of community, both online or offline in any of your business endeavors?
It means a lot because that's the one thing that you may have in common with a complete stranger. Um, so I have like an icebreaker when I meet somebody new. We'll be talking. Hey, what's your name? Oh, dope. Where you from? And I'll say this. What's your favorite cereal? I think I did this over the weekend.
Yes, you did.
And I asked everybody, I was like, oh, what's your favorite cereal? Right. And then now you start hearing everybody's cereal and you can start judging people based
Right.
off their cereal and
You
things like that.
tricks?
Right. You like tricks. Wow. Like, but it allows you to be able to now connect with someone and you've broken the ice without being like, so tell me about yourself.
Mhm.
Nobody really wants to do that. How we can use nostalgia. We live in an age now where are kids really going to remember certain things about their childhood that they did consistently, like how you and I did? Like you didn't really go out, kids are not really going out and riding their bike all day long. They're not really, they're playing video games. That's still the same.
Mhm.
They can now go to concerts, which is like crazy, right? But those things that honed our childhood is really gotten lost because they have access to everything.
Mm.
So I think when you're building a community, you have to find the one demographic that you can build on. And within that demographic, there is going to be a nucleus of nostalgia somewhere. It's about being able to find what that thing is. So I think like today, if a 16-year-old kid in the next 10 years, when he's 26 and he's trying to build a community, that community might be built on a TikTok trend
Mhm.
during that time. Yo, do you remember when everybody was doing the in the dance? That's now like the new thing.
Mhm.
And it's just going to keep evolving over time.
You know, the reason why I brought it up, because when I read it in the bio, I had this thought yesterday, and I was actually sitting in Applebee's, right? And Applebee's
Oh, yeah, with
is
your daughter, yeah.
just a spot for whatever reason. Like my father and I used to just go there.
Mhm.
You know, like there were problems growing up and this
Yep.
and that, but like when we were at Applebee's, like we were just eating good. Like it was the
Mhm.
neighborhood spot, and we were just eating.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there with Callie, and she was just goofing off and eating mac and cheese, and like I was really sitting there smiling, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, why am I smiling so much?
Mhm.
And I said, wow, this is a very nostalgic feeling.
Mhm.
And now with the holidays coming around too, like me personally,
Mhm.
Christmas was always just, it was the most magnificent thing in the world. Because I
Yeah.
swear, I would try to stay up to beat my parents. I'm like, I know
Mhm.
that big man doesn't exist. I know he doesn't, right? And then it'd be like 2:00 and I'm like, there's no gifts under there. There's no gifts. And then I would even sneak downstairs and wake up at like 5:30 a.m.
Uh-huh.
And then I would come down and see like this magical bicycle, like with a bow on it and
Yeah.
and brand new video games and a new basketball with a bow, and it
Yeah.
all said from Santa. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
How did you figure out if it how'd you figure out Santa wasn't real?
Listen, people in Mount Vernon are rude, man. They've been telling me for years that like
You was on the avenue.
Santa didn't exist.
Uh-huh.
They were telling me that he didn't exist, but it was crazy because I knew he didn't exist,
Mhm.
right? And listen, if you're 4 years old, listen to the podcast. Santa Claus does exist, okay?
If you're 4 years old listening to this podcast, you're a lot better than us. Put it like that.
So people would tell me that, but like I just always had this thing. Like I'm telling you, it sounds goofy, but like I was even 15 years old, and like I would come downstairs and be like, I know he didn't really come through the chimney, but this is magic. Like I checked all the closets. Y'all didn't have nothing in the closets.
You had a chimney?
I was looking. No,
I was about to say.
Well, actually, what was crazy, we did in the building,
Uh-huh.
right? And then I lived in a multifamily house that had
Okay.
like 4 or 5 families, so there was a
Uh-huh.
chimney there. But I'm like, that chimney is way too small for that man to get down there. But my point in saying that is another nostalgic like memory for me,
Mhm.
and it's crazy when you're thinking of like businesses, right? Like
Mhm.
the real gold with like Ace and too
Mhm.
is we create that nostalgic feeling for men.
Mhm.
Like being in an environment to where like you're with your brothers. It's like an
Mhm.
old school sports team that you
Yeah.
were on. So I'm just making that connection now. When I saw the word in the bio, I was like, wow, this is a really good thing. And even for business, like it's a great thought that I've never really heard of. Like if you're creating a business, like start thinking of ways to create that nostalgic effect on
Mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
Very unique.
And that's why like a lot of businesses, I think that have like open workspaces and things like that, they'll have like these icebreakers where they talk about nostalgic things, or they'll have like an old school Nintendo system there, or they'll have like a pop-up like Pac-Man machine, gumball machines, because they know that that's the thing that can also create a conversation for people that are brand new when they come into work. And it also creates people to talk just casually if they're playing the game. Right. So nostalgia is something that I truly love and always try to abide by.
Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kai Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kaivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kai Visions. Kai Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the Epi. Let's talk social media. And I think this could be very helpful for a lot of people where we're going to go. But you specialize in helping, you call them micro accounts, grow through creative content and storytelling.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
For someone with a small following, but huge ambitions, what would you say key strategies are to elevate their social media presence?
The first thing is, what's your story? There's not anything in this world that does not have a story. The Stanley Cup that you got has a story.
It's a Yeti, my brother. Claudio, get him off the podcast. Michael, this is a Yeti. We are not sponsored, but Yeti, if you're in the market, I don't use Stanley. This is that Yeti. So Michael, take that back. Thank you very much.
You see what I did there? See what I did there?
Yeah.
See what I did there? It's creating a story. Just me just joking around with the Stanley and the Yeti, he made you have to know that it was not, which now creates a story. There's not a brand or a product or a place or a person that doesn't have a story. So if you're able to captivate people with the story, people buy in. You don't buy a Nike product because you really like the check mark. You buy it because of what you've learned over the last 40 something years of what Nike has produced, right? You don't buy into Whole Foods because you really like their green font and their serif font. You buy into it because the story of how healthy the food is and where they come from, and organic farmers and farmers that are local. That's what you buy into. So the first thing that I would say is a key thing is you have to know your story and you have to stick to it. Your story cannot keep changing. Like just because nobody bit the first 7 to 15 posts, you have to stay. That's your story. The second thing is, how good is your content? We hear this word content loosely over the last 5 years. Content. Content can be anything. It doesn't always have to be a 4K video that zooms in and zooms out and has all these effects. Content can just literally be something that you do very consistently that people now know you for. So if people don't know you for something, they're not going to dive into you. People know Dave for what? No Snooze Podcast, being a big, but No Snooze Podcast, as well as other things. People know me from being a model. It all depends on when you met me, but you're going to know the person or the brand for something. Those would be the two main things that I would give.
That. Let's talk about authentic engagement, right? I think this is something that gets lost nowadays for sure.
Yeah.
But if you look at like today's social media landscape as a whole, I truly believe that authenticity is more important than anything, right? People can tell if you're authentic in your message. How do you help brands and individuals, I guess, establish or maintain authenticity while growing their audience and creating that new identity for them?
The first thing that I would do is just talk to the person. Like, do I feel like you're authentic in what you want to do? Because there's a difference between a person that's looking to gain a clientele because they really want to be a personal trainer or they really want to be a host, opposed to the person that ChatGPT, the top things to do on social media, okay, I'm going to do that. No, we can read right through that. So if I have a client that comes to me and it was like, Mike, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm going to use personal training as a very general area. Mike, I want to be a personal trainer. All right, cool. What's your goal for being a personal trainer? Do you want to gain more clients, or do you just want to be the guy that people go to that page for workouts? Because it's two different things. I want to be the guy that people go to for the workouts online only. All right, cool. You know that that's going to take a lot of time for you to do. So you have to know how to work out. All of your videos before you even start trying to approach people about wanting to come to your page just have to be of you working out, because they have to trust you. Now you can start giving tips after maybe like 12 posts, because now you've gained their trust that, yeah, this dude or woman knows what they're talking about. Now you can be like, hey, do you struggle with growing your calves? Here are my 5 new ways for you to get your calves to grow. Once they get that, now they can be like, okay, now I can come back here, save this, maybe share it with my friend, but I can always come back to it and keep watching it.
Yeah. I'm thinking of my own journey, and I think what's worked well for me is I just post what I do, and it's not like, to me at least, and this could be a limiting belief, but like, I don't do anything special. Like, I think I'm consistent for sure.
None of us
everything that I do. But like, I work out just like everybody else, right? But I happen to be very intentional going back to Snapchat days of taking a picture in the gym for accountability purposes. The real reason behind me taking a picture every single day is so I can actually look at January 1st and I can look at January 31st and scroll through and see actual little changes in myself, right? So really all I started doing was just sharing that piece on social media, but I typically just take the picture because I do it for myself. And I take a picture with my shirt on and my shirt off. I do both. And I'm thinking of like just little things to where like even my preparation, right? Because I knew that when I wanted to get into business, I needed to show what it is that I do well. And I know that I am more disciplined and consistent than 99% of the world.
You are.
Right? So something like making a cup of coffee is not a consistent thing. But I used to post a picture of my coffee at 9 o'clock at night next to the Keurig
for the next morning.
You know what I mean? And I think if people just don't overthink like you're talking about, and you really hone down on the things that you already do in your life, that's the authentic piece that most of us miss. Because, and I've done it too. Like I've been all over the place with social media, but now I'm just very like, I don't care if I say or this or that. I just am who I am now, and it's okay. Look at somebody like Jake Zemer. When Jacob came to speak to the ACE network, right, at the summit, he was very authentic and transparent. He's like, yo, like, I'm here to deliver a message to you guys, but my purpose in doing this for no cost, which was
is to get the content,
right? So like, there always has to be this authentic, and I think people, some people can listen to that and be like, oh, wow, he's controversial in some of the things, but he was very honest and authentic.
People are afraid of transparency a lot, because the more real you are, it can come off jarring to people. Like, that's too much, right? But it's like, why? Right. You would rather me serve you this like glazed donut of BS, opposed to just being like, I'm here because I want to, and this is just as an example, I'm here because I want to talk to a group of guys, which I haven't been able to do. And I'm doing it actually in a really cool spot that I can take videos of, and it's going to look dope. And when I put it all together, it's going to be dope. Right. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. All right, cool, because it's a win-win now.
Yes.
I get something for being a guest. You get something for being a creator of it. And he gets something for being a content person.
Absolutely. Is there something that you can, I guess, think back of on like a brand or a strategy that you've worked with to, I guess, speak to the measurable impact that you can have on somebody who's listening to this podcast that reaches out to you and says, Mike, I want to hire you to do my social media? Is there like a specific brand or company that you work with to where you've been able to bring them from A to Z?
I'll use Rock With Us, because Rock With Us on TikTok was actually an experiment. So my partner Derek and I, he lives out in Syosset on Long Island, and he was my creative director for Bold Entrepreneurs. So we wanted to work together on something, but we wanted to start it from the ground up. And he was like, yo, we should put it on YouTube. We should put it on Instagram. I said, no, you're not doing all that. That's too much work for me. We ain't doing all that. I said, let's start grassroots. 0 followers. Don't tell anybody about it. Nothing. Post on TikTok, post on TikTok, post on TikTok. By the 4th video, we hit 10K on one video. And it was about Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Wow. Everyone had a crush on her.
Everybody had a crush on her. Then kept posting, views go down, views go up, no comments, no this, no that. Boom, by the 7th video, 14,000 views. That video was about the movie Airborne. You remember that movie?
Airborne?
Yeah.
Air Bud?
No, not Air Bud.
Oh.
No.
I'm not a movie guy.
I'm way cool. I'm way cooler than that.
I'm not a movie guy.
All right. But about the movie, for those that might know about the movie Airborne, that shot up. The whole thing was, let's start on the platform that gives the best engagement for a brand new account. Instagram doesn't give you the best volume for a brand new account. Here's why. Instagram is basically all the people that you know. That's really what it is. That's how it started. Why? Because it was derivative of what Facebook was. Facebook came in, match you with all your friends. Cool, great. I'm going to get Instagram. Great. What are you going to do? You're going to follow all your friends. TikTok came in and was like, we want to push it to every person that can ingest it. So that's why if you start a new account on TikTok, you will have a faster growing there than you would on Instagram.
What would you say is, and this is specific to you, because entrepreneurship is hard.
Whew.
But everything you do is entrepreneurship, right? Like, I think I kind of have an easy, an easier way because I work full time, right? Like, I know that I'm getting X amount of dollars every week.
Dude, I've never had a 9 to 5. It's wild.
Right. So like there's levels to this, right? Like I've taken the safe route, whereas Mike has, really grinded for everything that you've got.
Yeah.
And not that I haven't grinded, right? I've definitely grinded my way in everything that I do for sure. But it's definitely 2 different routes. What would you say though is the hardest part about the entrepreneurial journey? And how do you keep going?
All right. I was in a business and we did very well, right? We had a great social media presence. We had stars come in, NBA players, all that, right? But I had to fathom being in the same place every single day for 12 hours a day. So I ended up not being in the shape that I normally am in. My mental space just started kind of going flat. I couldn't be creative. I was just foggy all the time, and it wore on my relationship. It wore on just me personally. I felt like I couldn't be a part of the things that I always wanted to be a part of. And it started to take the joy out of it for me. Then you get to a point where you want to make the decision where it's like, do I stay in this or do I leave? I left. And I left for my own reasons. Now, when you leave, you're known for one thing. Now you're not there anymore. So now where's your identity? You go through identity shifts and identity changes because people will only know you for the one thing that you did very, very well. So now once you don't do that anymore, what are you known as? You now have to rebuild yourself up back to something else. So I think some of the hardest places to be is when you're in the limbo place of, do I get a real job or do I not? And I went on the LinkedIn and I was like, all right, let me see what social media manager jobs is out there. And then realize it's just kind of like you're sending an email to a bot that picks apart your resume. And if you shoot out everything that it needs to shoot out, you might get a call. You might not. So from the time that you met me, which was around April, May, June, 3 months, I was probably in a place where I was just like, I'm trying to figure it out every single day. Where's the next dollar coming from? And that's kind of like when I started pushing being a DJ more, because I've always done it, but I always did it in a corporate setting. But now, how do I get into the New York scene? How do I get into the city scene? How do I get myself into a club? Great. Do what I do best. Go to social media. Start putting up mixes. Start putting myself on YouTube so that if you search my name, there's something there for you to listen to. Let me go on SoundCloud. Great. Let me do the same thing again. Dude, I would be on the Metro North every morning going to teach a soul cycle class, doing a 30-minute mix every morning, whether it was rap, hip hop, R&B, soul, funk, house, ballet, techno. Like I was doing everything on that train. Why? Because I had to keep pushing that this is what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you now saw me, oh snap, Mike, you DJ? Yeah. Now when people see me, when I do the 24-hour nights and everything like that, yo, Mike, you be DJing all over the place, right? Yes, because that's what I want you to see.
It's admirable. You know, it definitely is. I want to shift you to a little bit more, I guess, personal life now. What would you say is something that you're actively trying to get better with in life? Right. For me, you know, I've shared with really only the Ace Network, right? And I like to bring a level of vulnerability here to the podcast as well for people, just to see the duality of, you know, the personality of what it is that Dave Regina really is about. And, you know, something that I'm really focused on for 2025 is really honing in on humility and love. We did that meditation practice, and it was very eye-opening for me because I had a kind of like an out-of-body experience where like I saw two individuals, and one was Ed Milet, who I look at as he just leads with like humility, and then one was my girlfriend, Catherine, right? And she's just all about love. And, you know, really blending those two together was something during that meditation that I felt really deeply. And it's not that I'm not a loving and, you know, humble person, but I really want to focus on that for the next year. So for you, what would you say is something that you're actively working on as a man in 2024 going into 2025?
Accountability and honesty. I've had years of not holding myself accountable, but everybody else holds me accountable. And I'm okay with dropping the ball because it never falls on me. And also being honest. I spent years not lying my way to the top, but in terms of when it comes to like women, just being just this like chauvinistic guy that I didn't realize I was being in that time. And it took years for me to be able to look back at it and be like, yeah, this is where you manipulated. Yeah, this is where you lied. This is where you knew you could say this because you know it'll get that sad reaction and make that person feel bad, but really it didn't do that. So those are the two things.
How does it feel talking about that? Because I'm listening to you and I'm like, I love this type of stuff because guys listen, being a man in today's society is tough. I don't care what anyone says. And this is not like a masculine thing or like pro man, this or that. This is just life, right? Like kids, they rely on fathers, right? And of course they rely on their mothers, but I'm just talking about a male perspective right now. You know, women, they rely on men. Everyone around us, you know, really relies on us. And we have to be able to show up and bridge that gap between being that strong man, but also the vulnerability piece. I really admire and I appreciate the ability to speak on something that you're actively working on, because I believe it's no longer a weakness at that time, right? It's an awareness, and now there's action placed behind it. And now getting close to you, I can say that you're making and taking all the right action steps. So continue to do that. And also like continue to be open about it, because I think this is the part of like the podcast where people get real value because they can relate to it. Like you're sitting there saying what you're saying, and I'm like, yeah, that was me. Like, hi, Dave. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's really nothing wrong with that.
It being in the throes of it daily, you get challenged. You know, after the summit, came home, everything, you know, on the drive home, I'm thinking everything is nice, you know, this happened and that happened. And then it was like, we're in a fight. And I'm like, I was just talking about how everything was great and how everything was nice. How did we get here? And my thing that I've learned to battle was that stop reacting like so aggressively, like stop shutting down. Like that was the biggest thing that I would do, was when an argument would come, I would shut down. I'm not talking about this. Nah, I'm good.
What's the man's way?
Right.
It's just the way of a man.
And it didn't get me anywhere. And then the moment that I started like slowing myself down, trying to constantly in my head stop, like you have to stay in it, you have to listen, you have to respond, because if you don't respond, nothing is going to happen. And this is what I'm talking about, like in relationships with whoever you're with, is that when you put yourself in a situation where you've been the one that's done all the wrong, you cannot shut down. You have to stand up. You have to over communicate. Like I remember it was a situation where I wasn't even doing anything wrong, right? I was sitting in front of a hotel in the city on the phone with a friend. And I, just like most couples, sometimes you like share your location with the person, so everything is cool. I ride a motorcycle, so that's like the reason why we do it. And I'm sitting in front of the hotel, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm on the phone. Da, 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 da. I gotta call you back. I had a whole moment where I had to call my girl, and I'm like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm not in the hotel. I'm just outside the hotel. Like I'm just on the phone. Look, here's a picture of me outside. like this is not me doing that. And she responded, she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, because in case you looked on the tracker and you saw this, like I didn't want you to think nothing, because I've been in that situation before. And it's like that over communication just saves you the hassle in case she's not saying something or he's not saying something and waiting to see you to like let you have it. So that was a big turning moment for me to take that step in accountability, to just be like, hey, this is what I ain't doing. Please don't be mad at me.
I want to take you to what I think is the best hood in the world. And I'm not talking about Mount Vernon, New York. I'm talking about fatherhood. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On, being a brand new father to a beautiful baby girl.
Thank you.
What are you living in right now? Like, what is the present for Mike Press as a strictly when it comes to a father? And I want you to be intentional about answering that question, because you get pulled in so many directions. But when you're holding your daughter and you're in that space with her, what is it like for you?
It's a feeling that I've never experienced before. For transparency, I never wanted kids. And I never wanted kids for the fact at the time it was a commitment thing. So during that time, I never wanted to commit to anything. I always wanted my out. So I felt like if I had a kid with somebody, that locks me down into a commitment. So when my daughter was born, it made everything stop. And where I am now with it is like, when I look at her, I'm seeing how she's changing. I'm seeing how she's more responsive. I'm seeing how she's recognizing me. And I just sit there and smile sometimes. Like there's nothing, like she smiles and I smile, or I smile and then she'll start smiling. It's like these little things that you can't predict that happen to you. And it's just like a visceral feeling that you feel, and it's real. And you're like, damn, like I love this part. But you also got to deal with the real life stuff that goes along with it too, So I try to live mostly is when I am with her, is my attention is strictly on her. I try my best not to be on the phone. I don't even let people know that I'm with her. I just try to put all my focus on her. And if she goes down for a nap, I get to what I got to get to. But I try to be so there when she's there.
It's a beautiful thing though, right?
Yeah,
it really is. What are you most fearful of as a parent now? Like, I remember, when I first had Callie, like having like an aha moment, like, oh my God, like no wonder why my parents were so worried all the time. Like, and there's different stages, because when they're first born, and your daughter's only a few months old, right? I remember that stage. I was like, is she still breathing? Like, that's the worry. Like, am I covering her with a blanket? Is this and that? But then, like, imagine now, like my daughter, your daughter being in high school, getting in a car with somebody else, going to a party. Are they drinking? Are they making good decisions? You know what I'm saying? Like I look at parents now, and shout out to all the parents, because it is something that I am like, it all makes sense. So is there something that you're specifically, I guess, like fearful of? And not at any specific age, you know, when it comes to parenting.
So for transparency, like I also have a stepson, he's 17. So exactly what you're talking about is what I now worry about with him, right? Because he's all over the place. He, you know, he's a kid that grew up in the city and then moved to Westchester. So out of all of his friends, he's the one kid that can just freely just go between both, and he's fine. But when I'm looking at you on the track and you over on like Arthur Avenue and Fordham Road, I'm like, what are you doing? Whatever you do, don't go 2 blocks to the right. Whatever you do, don't go 2 blocks to the right. So with him, I'm constantly worrying about his overall safety because he's getting older, and one wrong move puts you from being a child to an adult, right? One wrong person that you're with can put you in from coming home and me coming to have to get you, right? With my daughter Juliana, I think that the thing that I might be fearful of is it's not guys, it's not you know, growing up and, you know, how she's going to look or anything like that. But I think it's how social media will affect her, because it can only keep getting more and more advanced to the point where I don't want her to lose knowing who she is. And then start to try to be like, oh, well, this person looks like this. Let me do this, right? I still want you to always remember who you are and be so confident in being you. Right? Because I'll teach you how to be fly. I'll teach you all of that. But at the end of the day, you still have to be able to maintain the confidence and persevere through a lot of different things. So it's like I hope that the social media and the world doesn't get to her before I do.
Yeah, I'm battling that now. You know, something I'm just fearful of every day is the innocence of my daughter, you know, being snagged from her just from going to school and, you know, being in pre-K, and she's coming home and, you know, she said something was dumb the other day. I'm like, what did you say? Where'd you learn that one? You know,
in school.
She drops the name right away. I'm like, who told you that? But it's, you know, it's tough because you have to be so intentional and strategic about your upbringing in the home. Like regardless of the path that you've taken, the path that I've taken, you know, what we've seen, what we've learned, like it's all about now instilling like proper values into our children, because society is going to get to them. You know, and that's something I'm just always like thinking of now.
And I would rather share who her father is, the things her father has done, show her, look, this is what I did when I was this age. Why? Because like it's this bunch of stuff online, right? You can see images and videos and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I can look cool, but let me tell you the backstory of all of that, about where I was. So if I can at least be so real with her at an age where she can get it and understand it, and the world is not the first person to kind of tell her that, I think that's where I can be comfortable being like, okay, go. You got the tools, go.
I don't know where this just came from, but I want you to look into the camera and I want you to talk to your daughter as if she's 18 years old.
Okay.
Just have some thoughts, I guess, give her a message. And I think it's unique because she's only a couple months. So, you know, you'll have an opportunity to kind of look back on it. And I just want to sit back and hear you, my brother.
Juju, you're 18. You are in a world that you have no control over, but you do have control over yourself. A couple years ago, I told you who I was in full transparency. I want you to take all of that as the lesson plan of you can follow some of these things, but if you follow every single thing that I did, you also know the bad that comes with that. So I ask you to make the decisions that you're going to make, but also know that the consequences are also going to be there. So as you continue to grow as the woman that you are, remember who your dad is. Remember, most importantly, who you are. And that every choice that you make is going to be your choice. Peace out.
I love that. Yeah, it was very emotional, man. I like that. I love talking to fathers. I really do. It just brings a I can relate obviously so much because I'm in the space.
Dude, you was the biggest inspiration to me watching a guy being a father, because you and I come from the same place, and it's like you and I share very similar stories, and I wasn't able to find fathers that I could relate with. It's like you'll find the dad, he went to the Ivy League and he's got the house. I'm like, nah, that ain't me. You'll find the dad that don't really give a crap, like, no, that ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm online, I'm watching you just being like with Callie and watching you be in your own journey of what it is that you're doing. But I'm watching what you instill in Callie. I think I remember there was one video where you guys were doing a prayer. And I was like, I gotta talk to Dave. And that was the changing point for me. And then literally by grace of universe and God, I saw you probably like a month or two later.
Mm.
So you were a very big inspiration to how I take fatherhood.
Well, thank you, my brother. I do struggle with compliments. I got to be honest. I mean, I like to hear that I'm a handsome guy. So if
we give you that too much.
That's an easy one for me.
We give you that too much.
But something that I'm also working on is receiving compliments and also understanding that I do have a level of influence and impact on people.
You're a man of influence.
But I'm very very grateful to hear that. So thank you, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Whitaker's Garage Door Store. Their products are a one-stop shop for all things garage doors. I happen to have my house done by them, and I can speak to everything from their timeliness all the way up to their customer service and the delivery of the job. Thank you guys so much for your support.
My brother and his wife purchased their garage doors from Whitaker's, and I cannot tell you, they are so thrilled with the results. Jonathan, Casara, thank you so much.
Talk to me about maintaining balance, man. Like, this is something I think that's so relatable to so many people out there, whether it's the working mom, the working dad, somebody who doesn't even have kids. But I think as somebody with multiple creative outlets like you have, how do you balance the different aspects of life and work to stay energized even when you're not? Right? Because it gets tiring. You're up for 24 hours. Like, how do you maintain that balance? And is balance even a thing?
I used to think balance was a thing. I used to be like, I need a proper work-life balance. And I remember Matthew McConaughey had a speech where he talked about checks and balances, where you can be great in your work life, but maybe your home life is suffering and your social life is suffering. Your social life could be popping, marriage popping, but work life is crap. Work life, marriage pop, like your checks and balances are never going to be level in this life. Your money's not, checks and balances is never equal, right? So I had to accept that balance was not a thing after a long time of me saying that I needed that, right? And my daughter was born August 30th. So from August 30th to September 30th, this was my schedule. 3 a.m., get up, do my duties as a dad to about 6 o'clock in the morning. From 6 a.m. to about 8:30 a.m., teach the spin class. Mind you, that's down in the city, so I have to account for time to get down there. From 8:30 to 11, I would find my way in the gym somewhere within that time frame. From 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I'll be working on a multitude of different brands of social media accounts, doing editing, having calls, posting. So let's say that's from 12 to 3. From 3 to 5, I get a small little break. That's where I'll probably take my nap for the day to have to rev up for my class at 6:30. 6:30 to 7:15. Cool, great. Go back home, chill for a little while, then do the night shift from 9 o'clock to 1 a.m. and then go back and do it the next day. So that was for like that started like August 30th to like September 30th, October. That was what I did. And the interesting thing is that people, when they saw me up at 3 a.m., they just thought I was going to the gym. And they just thought I was like this crazy gym dude. I'm like, no, you're not going to know that what I'm doing. And I'm sharing that here because I can feel safe in doing that. But those were my days. And so the balance really you don't have balance. What it is you have determination. And what you have is there's a guttural reason for what it is that you are doing. If you don't have that guttural reason, you're just kind of floating, right? Motivation is going to get lost every day. You're not motivated to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because you're excited to go to the gym. You do it because this is part of your routine. You do it because you know you have to do it. You do it because it's hard. The harder that you do, the things that become the most hard to do, the more you do that, the more it becomes easier for you to do the hard things. So I knew that if I had to get up every single day at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then that was Monday through Friday. Let's talk about the weekend.
Club scene is crazy, right?
Then I'm in the club scene at night, coming home at 5 and teaching at 7:30, giving even
in the morning,
yeah, and crazy. Giving way more energy now for, the next 4 hours. So I nap very well. You give me 15 minutes, I'm going to kill them 15 minutes with a nap.
Don't meditate with Mike because he'll
do not meditate with me. Do not ask me to come to your breathwork class. Do not ask me to come to your meditation. I will not come. That is a full-blown 45 to an hour of good sleep for me. And I will fully be present in my sleep.
You could be a good model.
Mm-hmm. Right? You need some pictures done. I'm there.
I am in.
But the balance I just kind of got rid of and just accepted that this was what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start accepting things that you've tried so hard to, no, that's your resistance to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Break free of that. Accept it and then do what you got to do.
I love that. And now, I guess after hearing all that, thank you, CV. I always catch them. For those on YouTube that don't see, right? Because you just hear it if you're on the treadmill or if you're in the car driving. So I constantly I'm listening to the guests always, but I also have an eye on the camera, and I make it known to CV when he's late on the camera switch. He always appreciates that.
What he doesn't know is that I clip all that out.
The master of editing.
Yeah. No, so I thank you for sharing that because I think it gives insight to the hustle behind like the man.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have another question for you, Mike. How do you really pour into yourself and kind of even like get comfortable with asking for help along the way? Like, I think that's really important because this is where real burnout happens, right? And I'm listening to you and obviously I know you, but even like hearing it again, it's all stuff that I knew. But when I'm hearing it, I'm like, wow, like this is a formula for anxiety, for depression, for constant struggle and limiting belief. Because you never get a chance to really settle. So how have you been actively like pouring into yourself? And I guess speak about the importance of pouring into yourself, even in seasons that are as busy as a season that you're in.
Pouring into myself is the hardest thing for me to do. It is the absolute hardest thing for me to do because it's hard for me to allow myself to do something good for me. It's always to help someone else. We're all in a mode of service at some point in time, but do we ever give ourselves that same service? So I think the last thing that I did, my girlfriend and I went to Texas for a wedding. And I wanted it to be that we had at least 2 days for just us, right? So I looked at that as, okay, this is how we pour back into the cup. I'm not a big, as I said, like person on meditation, but I do have my scheduled things that I do that help me stay centered, right? Journaling, listening to some form of inspirational message, whether it's through TD Jakes or whether it's through Motiversity. And obviously fitness is the biggest part. Those are the three things that I consistently do every day that allows me to pour into myself. I think sometimes we get confused that pouring into ourselves means vacation, means, oh, I get to go to the beach and lay down and chill. That's hard for me to do because I'm like, all right, so what
do I do now?
What do I got to do? Like, I'm trying to find something to do because that's my everyday life.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, when this episode airs on Monday, I will actually be on a float in Dominican Republic pouring into myself. You know, it's funny though, like vacations for me now are very different, Mike, because I used to go on vacation in all-inclusives to just drink and
turn up,
chill.
baby.
And now, like, we look forward to getting away for a few days and the routine stays the same, man. Like, we both, like, you know, do our Bible work in the morning, whether it's the physical Bible, if we bring that or not, or just listening to something. We work out, you know, we have a nice breakfast, we get on the beach, we relax. So, you know, as this episode airs and you're saying that like you wouldn't be on the beach, I will be on the beach.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you. But what I remember over the summertime, I found a park in New Rochelle over there by all the country clubs. I forgot what the park is called, but it's like right behind the VIP Country Club.
Glen Island?
Nah, not that one. It's like further east.
Okay.
And they have this huge green lawn that goes down to the water. And you can go down to the rocks and walk on the rocks with the water. So during the summer, I would take my dog and I would just go out there and walk her out there. And that was me filling myself back up because I wouldn't listen to music. I wouldn't talk on the phone. It would just kind of just be me there doing that and feeling the sun, feeling the wind. I love being around water. Don't put me in water, but I like being around water. That's the thing that soothes me the most. So if I can always put myself near water at some point in time, that is a way for me to fill myself up within the constructs of what I do daily.
As we come to a close, I want to give you an opportunity, I guess, to provide some guidance and advice for aspiring creatives. Right? It's a tough journey, man. And even listening to you, like, it even opens my eyes even more. So I guess for someone looking to break into the creative entrepreneurial world, what advice would you give them to either get them motivated, avoid the burnout, like we just spoke about, and see some level of success?
I follow these words. Keep your commitment to your commitments. Social media is a commitment game. You can have one video pop, great, dope. What do you do with it, right? Hawk Tour Girl popped, one video. Finds out it was a whole setup. The whole thing was a setup. Just came out. But she flipped it into now getting paid to be places as that girl. If you want to do the social media game, you have to be committed to it. You have to understand what it is that you want to do and not just kind of follow the trend of what you saw somebody else do. The burnout. You have to know how to take the time and the space for you to be okay if things don't go well. Because you always get another day, if you're lucky. You always get another day. You always get another chance. And the thing about social media is that you can always pop at some point in time. And a pop might be 10 grand, 14,000 views, followers, anything. You got to take the small W's. You got to take the small wins, because if you keep piling up those small wins, they eventually get to the bigger goal that you're trying to get to. But it's going to take what? You committing to your commitment.
Commit to your commitments. I like that. Where can everybody find you, my brother?
So you can find me online on Instagram. Mainly I use that at I'm Mike Press, the letter I, the letter M, and my full name, Mike Press. I'm fully active on that. You send me a message, send me a DM. You got to do it between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. But that's my main source of use. I club, DJ around the city in Westchester as well. You can still find me there as well too. And you can also find me at an Ace Sanctuary Summit, or an Ace event. You can find me there too. Got to throw the plug in there.
I'm grateful for you, my brother. I really I value this relationship.
Same.
One that I want to continue to develop and pour into.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking off air before about how I always enjoy, doing podcasts and conversations. But this is one that, I look forward to continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
And a relationship that I'm also committed to. So I just want to say that to you, my brother. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, listen, this was tough getting back in the booth. I didn't know how it was going to go, to be honest, being off for 16 weeks.
Yeah.
But I just want to speak on something quick because, when you start like a new endeavor like Ace, right? And this could be in your own life or whatever. I was battling like, wow, where am I going with the podcast? You know what I mean? Like, technically the podcast, doesn't put the money in our pockets to pay the bills the way like Ace has the potential to do that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to share that, podcasting changed my life. It was an Ed Mylett, Tony Robbins podcast that I mention, pretty frequently in my like keynotes and my conversations that really flipped the script for me on where the trajectory of my life was heading. And at that time, I stopped listening to rap music and I got into podcasting. So as I was sitting here, even driving here, I was like, wow, like, is my passion for podcasting like gone? And I remember learning so much in a span of 6 months through Ed Mylett, through Tony Robbins, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, Inky Johnson, all these guys, and not saying anything to anybody. But then starting to actually take the actions in my own life and changing like my relationships, my financial situation, my faith-based journey. And it did so much for me that I did that for a period of a couple years. And that's how the No Snooze podcast really started. So taking that 16-week hiatus, it gave me time to think. And I just want to say, I am back in the booth. This proved exactly what I needed it to prove to me, and my passion for podcasting. So I really want to, just say thank you to you for being the first guest that I brought back, because I didn't really know what was going to happen. I could have been here like, guys, that's it. Thank you for listening to 198 episodes, and we were signing off. But that wasn't the case. So thank you, man, for bringing that back out.
You've been able to create something that not many people have been able to create. And you're also doing it in an area of the country where not really much stuff happens, right? And I think you need to stay on the path that you've started, because I think the biggest thing that would happen to you if you stopped is what would kill you is wondering what if. And you would wonder what if, and then it might be too far along for you to try to get back,
right,
and then try to pull everybody back.
Right.
16 weeks, it's a long time. It's a hefty break, but I think you've had a strong enough community that they kept you accountable to coming back by asking you when the next one was, by still watching previous episodes, still commenting and reaching out to you, that you knew that you were coming back, and you came back into an even better space. You came back with an even incredible first time guest. And CV still here killing it.
That's right. Thank you, my brother. Guys, it's hoodie season, baby. We are in the peak of it. So as always, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com and continue to share this episode. We grow by word of mouth. I want to thank you for listening to episode 199 with Michael Press. And as always, until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
I was so nervous that Claudio was going to forget his line. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.